Welcome to Pixel Composer 1.21.8. Let's see what's new in this version. So first we have the new Compose Texture node. This node takes in a texture map like this, a map with different color area, and then you can define each area to correspond to different texture. It's just gonna compose all of that texture together into one image. This node also comes with post-processing stack, so you can add node to each of these layers before composing it back together. Like here, I just add shadow between each of the layers to add more depth, right? Because if I don't put it here, it's gonna be kind of difficult to add like an effect in between two layers when it already composed into one. There's also a separate output for each of the layers where you want to compose it manually. And this post-processing system also comes to the composite node as well. Next, we have the simple pattern node. So this is a really simple pattern generator node, which will have this basic grid that you can just click to add in pattern. Next, we have the array weight selector node. So this node will input an array and then output the new selector object. And this selector object will allow you to control the weight of each member in the arrays. So when you plug it into a supported node, like the repeat node, the scatter node, the particle node, it will be able to apply that weight into its randomization. Alright, so here as I increase the weight of the blue here, you will see that the blue will select more often. Now this new array selector output only has limited support. So it only works in the repeat node, the scatter node, the particle node, and the leaf node, the MK3 leaf node. So really specific. If you try to plug in to the other node that it doesn't support, it's just gonna treat it as like an empty surface. So there will be no output. Then we have a number of new nodes in the MK3 system as well. As you can see here, all of these nodes with the new here on the branch. It's mostly a branch manipulator node. So it's a node that can control the behavior or the looks of the branch after it was created. So we have stuff like that. We have the smoothen branch, the wave branch, spiral branch. As you can see here, I have a wave branch here, right, and I can just apply wave into it. There is new reroute node as well that will break each of the branch into its own tree, basically. So here, I started one simple trunk, right? And I branch it out into multiple branches like this. But as you can see, each of these branches are just one independent branch. But now that I plug it into reroute, each of them now will extend down, copy the part of the trunk that it stay on into its own tree, basically. Right, there are also the wiggle branch and wiggle leaf node, where you can create an animation of this branch or the leaf like blowing by the wind. Right, so this small leaf is actually created using the branch node. That's why I use the wiggle branch here. And not to get confused, this is not leaf. Then we have improvement on the already existed node. Like the equation node now have a proper equation reference. You can check all the function in here that is supported. The draw text now have the way to enter a new line without splitting a word. So if you only work with a language that use space to separate words, you disable split word here, you will see that the entire word are now in the new line. Then the gradient now have built-in post-processing like the layering and curve. Just put it in one node to make it more concise. And a lot of gradient values now have the new shifting properties. So there's new introduction of this junction inside a junction. Basically for some junction you're gonna see arrow inside that you can expand to modify even further. Here, the gradient value have the shifting properties. You can animate it. Like grid will also have this as well. You will see that entire color here you can shift it. There is also now a separate seed control for each of these random properties. So if I want to randomize shifting, but I don't want to change the colors, I can just randomize the shift seed here. So the color will stay the same. And as I said before, the composite node now have the new post effect stack. So you can go to the layer here and then click on add effect. And I can add, for example, a shadow. And now I can add shadow in between these two layers. But in case of the composite node, this is not particularly useful, right? A better idea is to just add shadow as a node in between these two, because then you're gonna have modularity and you'll be able to animate it properly. When you put node in a stack like this, you lose all of those control, right? And there's more texture control for different stuff like the 2D extrude now have a texture property, so you can blend the texture to the extrude part. Then we have user interface improvement. Like in the animation panel here, you can now select multiple objects and then drag it around to rearrange it. You can move multiple of them in folder. The animation marker can now edit to change its color or give it custom tooltips when you hover on it. Then we have the new animation analyze tool. So in the animation tools here, click on analyze and then turn it on. You will now be able to add overlays to the animation that will show different properties, like you can show the velocity of the keyframes. For example, if I add in interpolation like this, you will see that it will go from slow to fast like that. You can also check the pixel offset. For this example, with the position transformation, you might want each of the frames to have the consistent pixel movement, right? When you hover on it, it's gonna show you the change in between previous frame and the current frame, and it will tell you how much it's off of the pixel grid. So the brighter the pixel, the more off it is from the pixel grid basically. If I remove the easing here, you will see that it's all uniform, right? It has the same amount of pixel delta. And as I move the keyframe around, you will see that the color gonna change, right? Up until some point here where the color is completely gone, which means that the delta in each frame is up in the perfect pixel. And when you go to check it out, you're gonna see that in each frame here, the object will move exactly 1 pixel. So there will be no off pixel alignment, there will be no pixel jumping, or stuff like that. And when you are analyzing it, it will have this icon that you can just click to close it. Then we have improvement on the graph panel as well. For example, some node now come with the requirements. So here when I add transform node, it become red and it show you that it need to have a surface. So you just have to plug in a surface to it before it will update or before it will render. Don't forget to cut this part and then put it in the beginning because this is quite important. A Pixel Composer now won't come with FFmpeg libraries because Pixel Composer is not GPL licensed, and to use that, to use FFmpeg you need to have GPL license, and I have been violating that license all this time. Now that I go and check it, I'm actually not allowed to do that, so I remove it now. This will impact when you want to export to MP4 file. If you want to export animation into an MP4 file and then you press export, there will be this new pop-up show that it is missing the FFmpeg libraries, and you have to go to the link to download the file, extract the file to the target folder. So there's gonna be some instruction here telling you what to do. You just have to put the binary file into the folder so that Pixel Composer can access it. So yeah, again, don't forget to put this at the beginning, that's quite important. And as usual, we have a series of bug fixes showing you on the screen right now. And that should be it for this version. So thank you everyone for watching. Special thanks for all the Patreon supporters, and see you in the next one.